Welcome back to Football Coach, episode number 20. We're heading into signing day with things going a little differently than past. We have 85 scholarships, but we freed up a number of spaces. And remember, we have a very small junior class. So I'm actually going to save a few scholarships for next season. At most, we're going to find ourselves with just 82 following today, with 13 more maximum being signed as I've set limits across positions. Had I found another good safety, I would have taken one. Had I found other good players, they would be recruit targets. But those options aren't out there. And I don't need to cave in and sign somebody who's not going to be a long-term solution for us. And therefore, I've only got 30 targets. And therefore, I'm only accepting up to 13 of them. It is what it is. And at most, that's going to put us at 82. So we're into signing day of this group. There is the guarantee that at least a handful of them are way beyond our reach. They were good. I got like this four-star redshirt freshman, 77 overall, a potential quarterback. He's going to be too far beyond our reach. But really, there's only about a handful out of the 30, meaning there's a pretty legit shot at signing any number of the 25, and we should fairly easily get at least 11 of those 13 potential slots filled. And if we only end up with 11, then we still have 6 scholarships left for next season with a smaller graduating class to then still be able to get a pretty full class out of next year as well. But this first one is one who was well beyond our reach. He's heading to Georgia. Yeah, we didn't even get very close. Saw that one coming. In fact, I didn't even actually do a pitch on this final session because I realized we were out of reach. We were about 1,700 behind, but I had already offered the week prior. And as I've already discovered, there's a limitation on scholarships, and it's entirely possible that somebody could come further down the pipeline as somebody above you may reach their quota and not accept. So here's the second one of these, also a quarterback, another 77A, but he's heading to Iowa. I expected that for those first two, and I did not pitch them in the final week, but I left them on just in case. But now we're down to 28. No worries at this point because there was expectations along the way, and this is the one I wanted. So it's a 68 overall, A potential. Durability is not great, but this cornerback is straight out of high school. I've had him for a long, long time. Syracuse had been way ahead of us. They were slowly pitching him. Eventually we caught up, we overtook. Syracuse never offered. We had a pretty healthy gap on them, so even if they did offer at the end, he still probably would have signed with us, but there was still something in there that just had me worried a little bit that we might lose out on him. There's another one of those nobody had offered. Well, Pitt hadn't offered anyway, but Virginia had, and it was going to be a difficult ask to try to get Virginia, but to beat Virginia, but I was going to go for it anyway. But I was really expecting that the fourth quarterback would be the one that we get, and that's because nobody else. But this is a big drop down to a 65 overall, but A plus potential for the additional quarterback we're bringing in. And if you recall to last episode, or if you missed part of the last episode anyway, we ended up with 2 quarterbacks. I was going to recruit one high school quarterback anyway, but we ended up with 2 quarterbacks who were worried about playing time, and I couldn't make promises. I had 3 guys neck and neck, so now we have 1 that's neck and neck, and now we have a true freshman who will be picking up a red shirt and a high school guy coming in. So suddenly our 3-way battle for who's going to be the quarterback next year is decided. Just like that, we've got 1 guy. This wide receiver was one that was a bit beyond our reach. Didn't expect to get him. I offered the week prior, and 3 schools came in with an offer and left us in the dust. We had the scholarships to offer. I figured we might as well try. But now we're going to start getting into a lot of realistic targets with 2 guys signed already of 13. We have a 2-star offensive lineman. Nobody else offered. That was one that was not a guarantee. In fact, we were quite a ways behind. We were 4th a week ago. We just overtook to move up into that 3rd spot. We do get a wide receiver, though. We were the only ones offering true high school. So this is nice that some of these guys are coming out of high school and coming in with high potential. Here's one that we were waiting on, a second cornerback. I decided to go ahead and take him. I had no cornerbacks in the class. We got our one really good one up here with the 68A. And it was like, do we need a second? Do we need a second? We have these extra scholarship spots. I took some time to think about it. I evaluated our roster. We are very young at cornerback, but it's a position where there's enough need that it makes a lot of sense to have two in every class. And if we can have two high school guys every year coming through the woodwork, or at least one high school and one potential transfer one, you're keeping that revolving door and chance for growth. This is not going to be that guy. He's not going to be that big time starter for us, number one corner, but he absolutely has the potential to grow, and a good, pretty good overall already to start with. I am taking one junior college guy, but it's a B plus 66 overall, and that's really because offensive line's always a hard one to recruit. There was nothing in the transfer market. We'd already signed a few guys with some potential, and there's a sizable number of offensive linemen coming in for us, but without any available transfers, it was important to get somebody in with that little bit higher overall ability to step in and help us out, and still has good potential. But he might be the only junior college guy in this entire class. Might be. Well, here was one that was take a shot in the dark. This was literally my last edition. I went back through one more time. I had scholarship offers to give. I had available spots, on our targets list, and I made one final sweep through guys who did not have offers, didn't find anything, and then went through guys who had one offer that we were in the top 3 on their list, and found this guy, 4-star, redshirt sophomore, 75 overall, tight end, which is good enough to be the starter immediately, and a B plus with 2 more years of eligibility. And it was like, we're not going to get him, but we might as well take a chance. We gave a little offer. We gave a little NIL offer just to see what would happen, but it looks pretty clear that Colorado is going to get him. Yeah, we were still over 1,000 behind. The estimate, though, was quite a bit closer than that. So it was looking like we might only be about 500 behind, and it was like, maybe we could bridge that gap. No, getting those kind of wins last minute are going to be really, really tough on us for a long time until we have prestige and a strong coaching staff and better recruiting capabilities. But here's another big miss. And again, at tight end, this is a guy that was going to be number 1 on the list. But there's a lot of options at tight end, and I know that I'm going to miss a few of them, but I think we're going to start coming in here pretty quickly. Now, this is one... Ooh, shoot. Both of these were ones. There was no offer. We were number 2 of 5 on that list. We pulled past 3 of them to get there in a couple weeks, but we don't get there in the end. And this is another one where there was no offer at all. I was definitely going fingers crossed that one of them would remain available, but both of them came in. 687's kind of close, but it's not close enough. So that puts us way down our list to the 2 guys that I'm not overly thrilled about adding. I really only wanted kind of one tight end from this group and was hoping to get one from this group. That way you'd have an immediate solution and then more of the long-term solution. But we're going to end up with 2 of the long-term solutions. But they both have high potential, so they're good additions. We weren't at the top of the list for either of them either. So I actually did have at least one more additional tight end who had like a B plus and a 58 or something like that, where we were the only ones, but because of the limit of 2, we won't have to sign him, and that takes us into a second page, and there's still a lot out here. But we have 8 so far, which means we only have room for 5 more, and based on this list, there's 5 guys where we're the only ones. I can tell you already that we're not going to win any of these battles, which is disappointing because I should have won this battle. We were definitely ahead on this D lineman with A- potential, and I threw a pretty healthy NIL at it in addition, and we're still going to get beat to the punch on that one, but we're definitely not going to get these ones. 900 behind there is not that far down. 650 is not that far down. That's another one that I really threw the kitchen sink at it. We threw about $1 million in NIL and big offer, but Arizona is a much stronger pull than we are. But we get the linebacker. He was the only one on my list. We are going to get a second wide receiver here, 68B. We have a 63A minus running back. Yeah, here's the really disappointing one. Well, we're not getting that one. 67A minus D lineman, true freshman. Thought we were going to get him, but no, he's going to Washington State. 500 points too. They must have put in a pretty significant NIL there at the end, as I did. So they have more pulling power than I do. We did stay ahead of Oregon State, but not Washington State. And that means with 2 more spots, that's 13. We do get 13. So we are filling 13 spots. We get 2 at the end of the list, D linemen. Definitely not the ones I was hoping for from that list, from a 71A down to a 67A minus, down to a 61A, down to 2 high schoolers that are in the 50s and have much less potential. Chances are, big time chances, that one of them will be released next year to make room for yet another D lineman, and it'll really come down to which one has a breakthrough in development this year and which one only develops moderately or less so. Will end up getting cut to make room for, hopefully, another one of these. But a look at our recruiting class broken down by position. So we got a 65A plus true freshman and a high schooler with a 60A. 2 very good additions. However, the 2 that we lost were definitely further along in development. One of them was going into senior year, so I didn't mind at all, but the other one absolutely hurt as he had a couple more years of eligibility and may have been our starter come next year. Running back, a true freshman and a high schooler, a 63A minus and a 60A minus. 2 good additions, especially for us. We've struggled to have anything more than about a B minus or a B, and low current ability for our running back recruits. So those are actually 2 pretty decent additions comparatively to past years. Compared to the rest of this class, it's still on the weaker side. Wide receiver, though, this year was definitely a weaker recruiting class than what we've had in past years. 2 2-star high school guys in the B range, in the mid to upper 60s range. We've definitely pulled better recruits than that in recent years. One of them very well could end up getting cut if they don't develop well next year, and we'll look again. Wide receiver usually is one of the easier ones to pull some decent talent from. For tight end, 2 high schoolers with high potential but low current ability. For the offensive line, just 3 guys this year. 1 junior college with that higher current ability and still good potential, and then 2 guys with that lower current ability but really good potential, including a 59A minus. Definitely happy. I think he's probably the best of the 3 recruits with that combination of the potential, the overall, and being a bit younger. We did get a kicker, finally. High school, 3 stars, a 70 with an A minus, and we beat both Oregon and Washington to signing his name. Washington really didn't give much effort, but Oregon for a while was giving a pretty solid effort and were ahead of us, and we just slowly outworked them to pull ahead. And the moment we pulled ahead, they really gave up and stopped trying and kind of let us take them. So that was a big signing, because kicker has been the hardest position to recruit, that and offensive line. Most competition and the fewest guys available really is what that kind of comes down to. D-line, 4 signings, all out of high school. 1 really excited about, a 65A. Like, that's a steal for us. And then a few guys, that's those last 2. It's like I had a 62B minus and a 65A, and I was happy about those. I wanted to get 1 more, and I was definitely looking to those bigger, better guys. I feel like I should have left this last one off, but like I said, he'll probably end up getting cut next year. But overall, those two anyway are the best two D linemen that out of high school anyway that we've been able to recruit thus far. This has been our typical class every year. Linebacker, just one, a 62B, and I had him all season just sitting there waiting, idle, waiting for an offer from us, but I just never could find anything better, so I finally had to give him an offer here at the final moment, and he took it, and it's the only one we're bringing in. We didn't have a need, or maybe we did. Maybe we needed one. Regardless, not overly thrilled by that particular signing, but I am thrilled by this one. The 64B, it's fine. That's a good recruit. We've taken a lot of B minuses there, and usually a little bit lower, and he's got some durability. But a 68A, great signing, and a 64A minus at safety. So even though we only got one there, so much of this class was high schoolers as well, and a lot of either B plus or A minuses in this group, where traditionally it's been so many B minuses in the 50s. Not this class. This is probably the strongest class we've had. We didn't get a big transfer. We did not secure some big transfer name who was going to step in and be a big time player for us. That part did not work out, but we did secure a very, very solid group with some credibility and really good potential. Definitely the best potential we've had in a class before. Texas was the number one class ahead of LSU and Oklahoma, and I think this will help us in that continue to climb. However, we did leave a few spots open there at the end, so it does lower us a little bit, as we only took 18, and 17 of those were high schoolers, and then just 2 transfers is all we ended up signing at the end. We missed out on all those other transfers, and the 2 transfers we did sign, nobody else went for them. No one. Tough competition. Really tough competition on that one this year. But 71st is the class, and that's despite having less signings than everybody else around us. We took 20 still, and 20 is a good number. Our 1-11 record last year got us to 74th in the final rankings, but no prestige boost for that one. And we're, of course, going to have to spend some money to get back in, but it's another year of $30 million. Right in line with what we've had the previous seasons. We've got our donors. We've got that same conference TV deal with the same prestige, and our out of conference brought in another $12 million this year as we started a new contract with Oklahoma. But we did finish up a couple of contracts, so we've definitely got the ability to once again bring in a good little haul of money. But $30 million is what we've done here. And we used 0 NIL money. All of the NIL offers that we had for transfers, none of them panned out. And none of the high schoolers or junior college guys got an offer of that type. And so we save our NIL money at least. That's essentially $3 million extra to put into our facilities. Well, we've got plenty of money to find the next level in the facilities category, level 8. C+, the grade 10.5% bonus to player development during offseason. Still a base gain of 2 for the preseason trainings. It maxes out at 3, by the way. And it gives 35 to the scout percent for recruit camp visits. I'm wondering if I might pause on that one for a little bit and start to bring up some of the others, because we've got to start being competitive in recruiting, and the levels here, the expense just goes higher and higher and higher and higher, and we're not going to recruit much better with a C plus versus a C, and we're definitely not going to recruit much better with a B minus instead of a C plus. So as much as the player development bonus is something we need, we're a long ways from getting that 3, that base gain up to 3. The scout percent is already irrelevant at this stage, as we only needed 25 plus, right? You need 30 to get a potential grade, and by adding them to your target list and inviting them to a camp, 5 for a week on the target list and at least 25 in the camp visit scouting gain, equals their potential. And that's the big step. We didn't have that initially, so it was taking at least a couple weeks, or using a lot of your 10 scouting visits, using extras to get them to figure out their potential earlier. So with this, 32 versus 35 means nothing. 35 versus 38 or 40 means nothing. I mean, yes, it gets you closer to the 100 and really, really knowing about the player, but that's stuff that happens in time and really doesn't matter that much for us. Whether a guy's a 65 or a 66 doesn't make a big difference. Whether he's a D potential or an A potential makes a massive difference. And the potential locks in once you get to the 30. That doesn't change. What changes is the overall ratings, the overall value. And for that, it's less important, at least in the early phase. And by the time you get around to signing day, you know everything about the player anyway, so you've easily gotten there over time. So with another $14.5 million to spend, we've obviously got 4 options, and the stadium's gonna just have to wait. We get that little added bonus of having stadium atmosphere because of the fan base passion, and unless that continues to drop rapidly, we don't need to pick this up. Now, getting it to level 4 doesn't change anything. The seat capacity doesn't mean anything. It's the home field advantage and the stadium atmosphere, which level 4 would just keep that the same. Now, if we see a drop because of the fan base dropping off, then there would be a reason to spend that little bit to get to level 4, just to maintain, essentially. So the stadium can wait. Camp visit boosts and NIL discounts and recruiting. It's all nice. It's definitely more useful than a stadium boost would be at this point. But the marketing could have a benefit. The faraway recruits, obviously there's a recruiting bonus, but there's also an NIL boost. But the prestige gains, increasing the prestige gain when we are really struggling to have some prestige, could absolutely be helpful. Giving a +5 poll vote for the team rankings, that little increase gets us from 74th to 72nd, potentially, or from 72nd to 70th. To start actually seeing an increase, the marketing is important to make that happen. So there's a definite argument to be had that marketing, at least compared to college life and stadium right now, marketing probably has a bigger impact on the program growing. Because if we get to even just prestige 2 or 3, we are adding donors, which means we're adding money. And we definitely need those finances to grow, to get back to facilities and get it up to 12, to get academics up to 12. This has a recruiting boost. This has a booster improvement. We are on the verge of replacing a booster, and we could really use that. And the coach experience gains are going to be really important. So I think it's time to take a level. We can't get all the way up to the next level, really, with 15 million more? Guess not. But we are going to be pushing that one on to the next level next year. We're going to get that at least up to level 6 here in the short term. Well, that's good. Our gold donor looks like he's going to stick with us, even though he had what appeared to be an expiring booster scenario or interest, whatever it would be. So luckily he is staying with us. Preparing our schedule for the new year, and a couple things. One, I made a list of the 28 colleges that aren't obvious by name and figured out who they all were. So I have the list now. I know who everybody is in here. Unfortunately, there's nothing I can do currently actively to change team by team. A lot of these types of games you can go in and you can edit the name of the team and you can just make it the appropriate name in the middle of it. There's nothing we can do with that. But anyway, our schedule for this coming year, I'm going to do something different finally. We still want the big payout. So we're going to take Clemson, $12 million, 3-year deal, revolving. Now it's pretty easy to have 3 of those 3-year deals with one finishing each year and one new one starting each year. And so you can get that revolving door of 12 million. You got 3 out of conference games and you can do that and never get behind. What I'm doing right now is forcing that at some point, because you have 10 years to do it, so 3 years is easy, but over a 10-year stretch, if you start throwing other things in there, like a home and home against 2-star Kansas, who went winless in the Prairie Conference and had just 2 wins overall. They were 2-10 a year ago. It's an extra $1 million. That's nice, but this isn't about that payout. This is about getting a game on the calendar that in theory is winnable for us. A chance to get those couple wins this season, to get those coaches to progress a little bit faster, to start getting that prestige to go somewhere for us. It's a risky move because that's a home and a home. That means there's 2 slots somewhere in a 10-year period that I'm going to have to vacate, which means we don't get that $12 million payout at some stage of this process. Besides signing day, we're rolling into that biggest day of the year. Off-season gains. At the top, only a +3. Shane Davis goes from an 83 to an 86, which of course is good. We did have a guy who was an 88 last year, but we've got 2 85s right behind him with an offensive lineman who's picked up a +6. But Pryor only gains a +3. Could have used a little bit more development than that for these guys, but look how many guys we have at 80+ now. There's 10 of them. 10 80+ athletes from off-season gains alone, and we still have a chance to increase that much higher with targeting any young guys like, say, Cooper Knowles. Cooper Knowles, we could probably push him to an 80 with development, potentially anyway. Ramachandran might, if he has a breakthrough anyway, be able to reach an 80. Samuel Parks, there are some big gains out there. Beach gets a +8. Some +1s though from our only guy who was a C. Oh, goodbye to you, Roberto Watts. You're gonna get cut like that. So that's still a 74 though, way down at number 31 on the roster. 54 guys have a 70+ rating. And just one below 60. And Jimmy Scott is going to end up getting cut too, from going from an A- down to a B and only getting a +3. Yeah, that's a recipe for a see ya later. But it's all freshmen and redshirt freshmen until you get to Albert Chun at 62 and a 68 overall. So we really have come a long ways. But can we start getting wins consistently? We've gotten 3 in the last 3 years, but there's a long ways to go. We had a +9 last year. This year we get 2 +8s out of +7. We do have a good number of +6s. Wow, a really good number of +6s until you get into a wide range of +5s and lots of +4s. So yes, development has improved. What we've done with the facilities, we're seeing the benefits of that. 41 guys had a +4 or greater. We're in year 1. Year 1 had, 3 guys that had a +4, 2 +5s? Now I don't remember. Something like 2 +5s, and then the next best was a +3. That was the whole roster. Those training facilities are making a real difference for us in terms of growth. I need to keep working on those facilities and get them a little bit higher. It's just the cost that comes with maintaining it is getting pretty out of control, or can get out of control. We've got to start getting some wins to push that up higher, to get the prestige up higher, to have another booster, to then justify the extra maintenance cost on a yearly basis. But position by position, true freshman quarterback already loses some of his potential and is only a +4. It's 64. It's not that great. Quarterbacks seem to progress a little bit slower on here, and their ratings, they might start a little higher, but they don't seem to climb quite as high as some of the other positions. And so we got a couple +3s and a +2. That's the starter who only got the +2. So we are absolutely, without a doubt, going to need to spend a full week. Like 4 of our preseason training sessions needs to go to one each to all 4 of them, really. Well, except for maybe Fletcher. Maybe we'll leave Fletcher behind on that and do the other 3. Probably will. But we'll have a 79 overall at running back this year, but as a redshirt senior, I'm probably not going to push that any further. The backups behind him, Alisea, is the one who's going to get my attention to take over the job next year. If I can push him up to a 74, 75 now, next year I'd be inclined to keep training him to try to get him towards that 79 sort of range, as he would just be a redshirt sophomore at that point. Elijah Hood, you got A. Like, how are you only a 71? And Davidson. But I guess that's kind of typical of us, right? Till last year, we never had about a 73. We'll have a 79 this year, and that is the best running back we'll have ever had, as he had a breakthrough offseason. Wide receiver, top end goes up a little bit with an 86, higher than what we had last year, or really the last couple of years, I think. We've been much better at wide receiver, and we do have 3 wide receivers at 80 plus again, but the 4th one just a 79, but plenty of good depth behind them. I mean, our last guy is the only one who's not a 70 plus, but that's both of the wide receiver true freshmen that we're bringing in, the high school guys. They both got +2s. Tight end, 76 for our top guy. That's a good gain. Schneider was the one I was counting on to have a bit of a breakthrough. Behind him, it really drops off. We'll make sure he gets the majority of the snaps. But we are so young at tight end, and with a 76 to lead the way for the next few years, like we'll develop him some more. I'll go ahead and commit to a little bit more. His potential dropped off some, but there's still, we'll get Samuel White on the go as well. Offensive line, 285s. That's good. That is good. What worries me, though, is the drop-off after that. A 79 obviously is very good for somebody who lacks potential, is a senior. No big deal. He'll be gone. But we've got a redshirt sophomore at 85 already. And then a junior and another junior and another junior, kind of making up the rest of what is the starting lineup. It's a lot younger as we go down this list. In fact, the only seniors are numbers 1 and 3. And juniors, yeah, there's a handful of them, but they're a little further down the list. There's guys in the mix that are definitely higher up. Good gain here from this junior. That was the junior college edition that we made, so I'm glad I made that one. He got a +7 and improved potential. Will be a 73 as a true junior. It's going to be hard to justify playing him only 4 games and then redshirting him so that we still get 2 more years with him. That's a difficult ask to do, but we might give it a shot because there's enough guys behind him. There's enough guys behind him that have already redshirted to justify going for it, and then just taking the 4 most winnable games to let him play there. +4 for our senior kicker, who's backed up by a senior kicker, but our true freshman is a 72 and still has good potential. +2 is obviously not a big gain. I might, if I remember at some point, give him 1 preseason training session to help him out, because he will be the guy next year unless we get a transfer or a freshman in this year, which we will need another one. We've got to have 2. If we can get that little bit more with somebody else, that'll help us. Punt power +8. Nice. Okay, on to the defensive side of the ball. A 76 overall with a solid gain by Beach. Nice. That helps. That helps. He came from a 68 to get to that 76. No top end guy. No Xander Marsh. No 88 overall D lineman. That's going to make it a lot harder this year, but This is not like our cornerbacks a couple of years ago where nobody was above a 73, and there's still, the ability to Noah Hurley will be targeted as a redshirt freshman to already be number 3 on the depth chart, meaning he plays a lot. I'll be trying to make him number 2, get him above Kendrick, who's going to leave us at the end of the year. I might do a training for Beats just so we have a little more quality at that D line, but definitely Allen should also get a boost, and McLaughlin. So yeah, I'm probably going to focus on those few guys and get that D line a little bit higher up and a lot more mid 70s depth. So we've got a good defensive line, but not a great defensive line. Linebackers looking a lot better this year, though. 2 guys 80 plus. We didn't have any last year. Frazier was our top guy at a 79, and that's despite having some pretty low potential in the group. But here's our A plus potential redshirt senior who had a bad development year a year ago. He was a junior college, or he was a transfer. I don't remember which, but 76 now definitely helps. But Cooper Knowles is the guy who's going to get my attention, as he's already a 78 and just a sophomore. So if we can get him up to an 80, I think he might be one of the only guys we develop in the bunch, unless we go for like Cruz or something. But we've got a good linebacker crew this year, and there it is, cornerbacks back in business from nothing but 73s to some 76s a year ago, 80 and a 79, and both are juniors, and Burns a 76 and just a sophomore. True freshman Peyton Bailey a 72. We'll need to make sure we redshirt him and only give him the 4 games, but that we've come a long ways on quarterback in the last 2 seasons, and safeties looking good again this season with an 81, backed up by a 76 sophomore who we can probably push a little bit further as well. And that's why I tend to target those younger guys. Now we're seeing that revolution. Those younger guys are emerging into starting positions with quality at a young age, and then you're more inclined to go for it. But this might be the year that we kind of stack the deck and go for it. D-line is about the only position that is hurting. Oh wait, and quarterback. Not hurting is bad. We've had a starter that was a 73 one year. We had a starter that was a 75 one year, and we will train Chappell. We need to hope for a breakthrough, though. We really need to hope that he gets that breakthrough to give us that chance to have him at a 77 or 78 this year, so that he's good. Doesn't need to be great, but if he's good, it'll really help us, and then he'll have a couple more years to then push into the 80s. All right, folks. Well, we had a really strong recruiting class, lots of potential. We had good off-season development. It gets better and better every year as we bring those facilities up higher and higher and higher. That's where we're seeing the payoff from working the facilities. And yeah, I think I'll finish off the level we're working on academics. As much as I said earlier in the episode that I'm like, okay, I think we're in a good stable position. Let's take a break. That boost makes such a difference. Such a difference. It's just getting more and more expensive. So it's hard to justify each subsequent level, but we'll squeeze out one more. We'll start working on that next year after we finish off the academics. But there's a lot of low levels in the others to bring up so that we can recruit a lot better across the board and be more competitive. And we've got to start getting some wins. And I have a feeling that this is a roster that can get some wins, right? We've really only got a couple positions that are down a little bit. We've got a couple positions that are the best we've ever seen. And most of the rest of the positions are stronger and deeper, or as strong as any other year. It feels like we can and should get those couple of wins this season with this group. And we still have the preseason to push that a little bit further with, 24 more individualized sessions. And yeah, with that, I think we'll be in pretty good shape for the year to come. That's going to do it for this episode, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.